Meet Codename Goose, your on-machine open-source AI agent, built to automate your tasks. Codename Goose is an intelligent and autonomous agent capable of handling complex tasks thanks to its core features. Connect with apps and tools you already use with extensions. Built on the Model Context Protocol, you can connect to extensions like GitHub, integrate JetBrains IDEs, access Google Drive, or build your own custom integrations for Goose. For a curated list of extensions, visit our docs. With a wide range of compatible large language model providers, you can choose and integrate your preferred model. You can also run Goose as a desktop app or through the command line interface using the same configurations across both. You can think of Goose as an assistant, ready to take your instructions and do the work for you. Able to handle a wide range of tasks across various engineering domains. Here are examples of tasks Goose has helped people with already. Goose has helped dive into a new project in an unfamiliar coding language, conduct code migrations such as Ember to React or Ruby to Kotlin, increase code coverage, and even generate unit tests for a feature, and much more. To get started using Goose right away, check out our quick start and be the first to know about upcoming features by joining our community.
I think you mean.
Yeah. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm so excited that I'm seeing people in the chat already. So today I'm joined by Bradley Axon. He's my amazing coworker and also the creator of Goose. I'm also joined by Nick Cooper. I talked to him backstage. He seemed a little humble. He's a member of the technical staff at OpenAI. He's the technical lead for protocols at OpenAI as well. And he's also a member of the MCP steering committee. We are going to be chatting about the launch of the Agentic AI Foundation, or the AAIF, and why this moment even matters for developers who are building with agents right now, and then also why this donation made sense. Okay, so just so you all know, this is not going to be like a plain, boring live stream. I like a little bit of spice, so I did see a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about the donations, but I also saw a little bit of skepticism, and I want to make sure that we address them. So hi to everyone in the chat, but I want to dive right into this because we only have 30 minutes to talk about all these good stuff. So I want to know from both of you, whoever wants to go first, take us back to the beginning. Whose idea was the AAIF, and what was the initial reaction when this was first proposed, at least even just to you? What made this feel like it was worth doing and not just something that's interesting?
I'm happy to take that if you don't mind, Brad. Yeah, so I actually don't completely remember when it was first being actually discussed. I know it was being discussed before we had a name, but then we settled on a name, and then, you know, the rest is sort of, as they say, history. I just, like, with the question, the way you sort of think about it, like, what was the initial reaction when it was first proposed? It was expected. Like, this was, like, from the outset, like, a natural thing of, like, open projects like Agents.md, MCP, and I presume also Goose, that, like, you sort of expect this refinement and evolution of how you support, like, the community around these systems and, like, protocols. So it was always eventually going to become a thing. So AAIF wasn't really, like, it wasn't sort of, let's respond to this. It was more like, oh, good, okay, we're doing it. Let's, you know, it's the next step. It was always like a very logical thing.
Yeah, And if you want a little bit more of the like story of the background, there's a great recording of MCP night at WorkOS from last week on YouTube that you can go check out, where Monik and David talk about that a little bit, like the backstory there, as the conversations they were having. But yeah, totally agree with Nick. Like once it got out there, I feel like a lot of the reception I see is from people who are like, "Oh yeah, I'm glad this exists. You should start doing this now," or like, "You should go get in there and make this a standard." And I'm excited about that.
I love that. And I just linked the video in the chat as well. Okay, so you all said, like, I know this is not necessarily on the list, but this is how my brain works. You all said that this is something you all had like already expected that you were planning to do. Do you think this was too soon or early? Like MCP's only been out for a year. And I remember, Bradley, just last year, we were talking about like Goose, and you're like, it's gonna like adopt this new methodology and everything. So what made it be like this is the right time?
Okay, so let me say that I appreciate both sides of this like perspective, which is that like it's very a 1 year old protocol is not an old protocol, right? Like protocols move really slowly, and so I definitely see it's hard to like make it. It's hard to jump in and say like this is the way we're going to start the base layer of building agents and have that be something that more and more people adopt. But on the flip side, like this space moves so fast. Like it is not, I think, the same release cycle that we see in like previous examples of protocols emerging. And so although it is new, I think that it is also very clear that the industry has adopted it very thoroughly. Like it is like the de facto standard. And that's what I think we're waiting for with protocols, right? Is that like if there's enough consensus, that means that we get value from everyone evolving it together. As opposed to like coming up and competing on different protocols. And you want to let there be space for competition to pick the right solution. But also once you get a certain critical mass, I think there's a lot of value in us evolving it together towards what it needs to be. And I think we're there for MCP and hopefully for other things like Goose.
Yeah, I'd love to just riff on that a moment as well. As it's so MCP and Agents.md and Goose, they're like a very different style of like protocol and standardization evolution. Like it's something that I've talked often about with David from Anthropic about this idea that we look for demonstrated utility and usage, and then we seek to standardize it. We don't standardize and then deploy, which is sort of like that's a large reason of why many protocols have been slower to gain adoption in the past. Like to me, there's like this communication thing, which is model context protocol is about models communicating with context. Agents.md is about developers or code repositories communicating with an agent running within them. And Goose is a like canonical example of MCP. All of these things demonstrate this sort of like utility that was like always there. Like you always needed agents on your computer. You always needed to instruct your model how to use your code base. You always needed to give context to things. And so we started with that. We started with ideas of how to build towards that and then refine them to like a standard. And like, it's really just a beginning. And like the foundation, I hope, will adopt and grow further technical standards in new ways with the same sort of approach.
I love that. And I think your answer kind of leads into the next question I want to ask. Again, some of these are a little bit spicy. Some people are wondering, like, why are competitors coming together to like do anything with open source, right? Like, what's the honest answer for like potential rivals holding hands in this situation? Or is this just like a show for open source? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit where like each of these different parts represent different parts of the protocol, but want to know more from you all.
So it's come up a lot in conversations, but like there's like standards are extremely important to establishing this like communication, this open forum. Like for models to deliver value to users with the tools and things they have today, or for models to work effectively with the code bases that developers have today, you need to communicate. And if you're communicating, there's more than one party involved. So standardization helps us all speak like the same language in a sense, I guess. Like because really that's really all protocols are. Like it's a bit of a tech-centric sort of word for it. Like it's a bit techy to say protocol, but it's very similar to like language of speech. Like it's about developers talking, code bases and developers talking to models for Agents.md. It's about models talking to context for MCP. And for these sort of things, communication requires a common standard. And like we are competitors in many domains, but like by having a common standard for communication, it creates like an open forum where then like as competitors, we can build to deliver the best value for users.
Yeah. And like, I think I'm glad Nick took that one as like Block, I think, is in a different situation. But I will echo what you said there, which is that like as a company building on top of models from multiple different providers, having those interoperable standards give us as like a builder of like agents for end customers a huge set of opportunities to like build an infrastructure or an architecture that's going to survive a couple of model releases and like continue to work going forward. So yeah, I'm enthusiastic about the move, and from a like consumer of these standards perspective, I think it's a huge benefit for anyone building agents today.
Yeah, what a good point. Like that made me realize I always only think of protocols as we're making sure technology, like different pieces of technology can communicate, but the people making them have to actually communicate with each other as well. Another question I have too for you all that I've seen a lot of people say, well, it looks like this donation means Block doesn't want Goose anymore, or OpenAI is giving away Agents.md, or like, well, I know you all can't speak to Anthropic right now because David's not here, but like Anthropic's like MCP sucks. We're just going to throw it away. What's your answer to that? Are you stepping away from these projects or changing how you show up? And why donate?
So let me I can give you a really concrete answer for Goose, which is that we're very much not stepping away. So we have, for example, like a team that's staffed with like an like permanent agreement that they will only work on open source and only on Goose indefinitely. And so that allocation isn't changing with it moving into the AAIF. And I think so that's like just specifically like what's our stance as Block like going forward. Like I think we're investing even more because of this, not less. But to say like why I think that makes sense and why you should buy it is that we're part of why we made Goose open source in the first place is because we think it will make it a better product. And so by getting that into a foundation like this, we get more contributors and like more people interested in building it together with us. And I think in the long run, that makes it a much better performing agent. Like we take ideas from a lot of different places and we all kind of make it collectively better. And in a place like Block, that means we can take it back to our products. But I think for someone who's like interested in the foundation and using the tools out of the foundation should make it better for you too, because you can come improve it with us and we have more talent working on it.
Yeah, I do want to say it's the same from us as well. Like I think Jim from the Linux Foundation put it really well in like there's these layers to technology that we've built up over time. Like, you know, we have Ethernet, and on that we build TCP. On TCP we build HTML. On HTML we build like a significant chunk, if not all, of the web we see today. And like MCP builds on this. Like Agents.md is a specification for markdown files. Like everyone's building on existing technical standards. And one of the things, like we're very invested still in supporting and continue to work with and develop MCP, and putting it in this open foundation just really increases the audience of other developers and interested parties who can help us build this foundation to be stronger, build new things on top of it, make them work with each other. Like it's really a beginning, and to me indicates some more the next stage of like openness and direction and looking for contributions from others and from the community at large.
Love that. I love that you're still invested, and I'm still invested in all these projects as well. There's a comment here, and I think it really ties into the next question I want to ask. So basically, Bern Deckfinels, I hope I'm saying it right, he said, I commented the Linux Foundation is the graveyard where projects die, but I deleted that comment, meanwhile, to give you the benefit of the doubt. Now, I've heard this before. Developers have seen open foundations end up losing momentum once they launch, like the energy tends agents to fade, right? So we might be saying right now, like, we have these people dedicated to working with our tools and we're donating it so that like more people can get involved. But what concrete signals should people look for to show that the AAIF will stay active and invested over time?
So concretely, it's just like we just started, but it's what we do. So the AIF is 2 weeks old. So concretely, the main thing we have to show for it is like podcasts like this, I believe.
Yeah.
But like this is like the beginnings. Like this is not like an end goal. Like I have heard that sort of sentiment before about like, chucking open source standards over the fence or something like this. But that's not this. This is like a foundation that we'll build on, continue to engage on. We just had one of our first board meetings. The main thing we did was schedule the next 2 meetings to discuss like where to go and how to support this community. And also, I don't think it's a fair characterization of the Linux Foundation as well, because a lot of it is just like the community around these open projects and how they interact with each other and grow to hopefully positively support it. Because like the Linux Foundation has many, many projects that I use every day. And I'm hoping AAIF is additionally one that I will also use every day. And I'm very interested in continuing to support it actively and welcome all contributions to the community on like ways they feel we could better do that.
Yeah, and I completely agree, by the way, on the track record of the Linux Foundation, right? Like there's like the underpinnings of modern software are in the Linux Foundation, and they continue to make sure everything works. But I will say that just to like go see the signals of this working as intended, like the pull request rate in Goose is way up. And that's like a day one effect for sure. But what I think you should be looking for is like more contributions coming to all these projects. And like we're sitting here being like, okay, we got to get more people on our maintainers list to keep up with this. And I think it's that growth that is one of the signals that you should be looking out for on all of the projects included, of like how are more things happening. And also like in the world out there, I think more people building with it, even if it's not part of the actual like spec or in the foundation natively, but more adoption is also a really good thing to look for. And when it comes to protocols, Agents.md, MCP, it's that adoption that is what drives the value, right? Like the more people speaking it on both sides, the more benefit everybody who ends up using it gets out of it.
Amazing. Loved both of your answers. Okay, I'll stop badgering you all with like the why should we believe in this? And maybe something more inspiring. What do you feel becomes possible only because this lives in the open and not inside of just one company? I think throughout your answers you kind of touched on it, but want to get that focused answer here.
So, well, I can start with that. I think what this accelerates a thing that would otherwise have to happen as more of a like concurrent evolution, and now it can actually be like a conversation. And that's how do we solve these problems that people are asking for, that they want AI to do for them specifically. And I think that's why like Agentic Foundation is like I'm excited about the first letter of the 4 letters. Like I think that's really where we're having AI become like really useful for people, is like how does it go out and take actions on their behalf, actually like do things for them. And a lot of this stuff, like I really think it's the early days, like you sitting there waiting and approving every action it takes and like waiting for it to get to the answer is definitely not where we're going to be in a couple of years. And so for me, I think what we do is we go look at how the protocols enable the agents to do more and more asynchronously, for example, is a thing I'm specifically really excited about. Like, how does it just do something for me overnight and I wake up and it's like, oh, all those things are taken care of. That kind of stuff, I think, like MCP, for example, just introduced tasks. Like, I think this group can help make that conversation happen around how those primitives turn into real world like outcomes for everybody.
Love that. Imagine the day that we're like telling our kids, yeah, we used to wait for our agents to complete tasks. Anything to add to that, Nick? You don't have to, but just wanted to create the space.
I think it really, like, I'm really excited to see how it evolves. I don't have a strong impression. Like the one thing though is like the AAIF like really refines and like indicates a strong commitment to these protocols and projects. But I would say it's not the first time that we're engaging openly on these. Like Agents.md has a lot of adoption from a lot of different providers, and OpenAI, as well as many other companies, have been early contributors to MCP, the specification. Like it's very much like AAIF is like the next step on a journey that we've been taking for the past year, or maybe more slightly now. But so it's the next step. It's not like a gateway. It's more an invitation for others to walk alongside us with these sort of things. And I'm really excited to see, like, TAS is a great one. Like, I was a big fan of TAS and MCP, and it's really a foundation for this future, like, inter-agentic thing. And this foundation can help support other people, like, building out this and sharing their experiences, positive and negative, so we can build, like, a safe and secure foundation for all this to be built upon.
Yeah, looking forward to task. Okay, my other question, I think, trying to decide which one I want to go for first. Okay, I'll do this one. I think a lot of times when we build stuff out as developers, it's really like San Francisco or US centric. I'm curious how this benefits people or developers worldwide. Like, think of developers that are in like Lagos or Sao Paulo or something like that, and they just have a laptop and an idea. How does the AAIF, a little bit of a tongue twister, change what's possible for them specifically?
Well, okay, I can start that, and then I'm curious what angle Nick is interested in here. So for me, I think these were all existing open source projects, and and I think the first answer I have to this would have been is the same for any open source, which is like, if it's open, you should go contribute. Like doesn't matter if it's part of the foundation or not. Like, raise a PR or go in and submit an issue or start a discussion, because I think that's like such a fantastic way to get concrete with your idea and to go try to make it happen. Now that it's part of the foundation, I think that like we're more committed to this being something that is owned by and driven by the community. So you should have even more expectation now than in separately owned projects, that like your voice matters and you can come like make that change happen. And then also it's like it bringing the projects together is, I think, very valuable, because for me personally, as a person like building AI solutions for Block for most of my like day job, it's not just, you can't just make the change in MCP, right? Like it's a thing that goes throughout the whole system. And so I think you can come have a discussion that reaches across like all of these ideas. And maybe it's not something that is hosted in the AAIF yet, but it could be in the future. That's another thing that you can come do that maybe was harder before they were under that umbrella.
I very much agree with what Brad said, and especially the like. I hope people feel that like open source projects like welcome contributors, and like people should, no matter where you are, feel open to contributing to open source projects. The foundation, the biggest things for me is like around like it's that next level of like formalism to an open source standard. Like it really just emphasizes the commitment of these bodies to supporting these standards. And that does help, because I think especially for those like in the tech industry, there's sort of like, it's hard to tell which are the like open source projects of the day, like which are the popular ones, which are the ones of lasting potential, which ones don't, all this kind of thing. And so being a member of Foundation gives a commitment that like, this is something that is intended to last. This is not like some passing thing. You should feel free that you should build on this. It's worthwhile learning how to build this, how to contribute to it, and we're excited to see what you do. The other thing is there's a dimension to the Linux Foundation around like conformance and compliance testing. That's also just like when we have projects, like, as I said, it's communication. But you need this idea of like supporting the idea of like labeling this is a MCP server that actually works according to the official specification. This is Agents.md done correctly. These sort of things are sort of like they're not first of mind for a lot of technical standards, but they can make meaningful changes for how people should feel confident about building their solutions that might rely on these standards. And that's something that I hope will grow to define for the AAIF.
Love that. I didn't realize on the compliance front. There's a question I have, but I think I can kind of skip it. And because Neil addressed it, I'll just read it out loud. So I was basically going to ask like if anyone remembers the early days of open source and the web and what the era feels like to you. But I think Neil captured it well here, where he says like HTTP, HTML, JSON, and other standards changed the world only because of the W3C. Um, and he's saying like that's what really makes the AAIF a really big deal as well. Um, and there's a couple of people in the chat kind of asking similar to what I've written here. If someone that's watching this wants to get involved, not just use the tools, but shape where it goes. What's the plan? I think you guys mentioned contributing to open source and stuff like that. But there's even someone, Julian here, that says like, is there any interest in having an SDK for building agents joining the foundation? Like, how do people join? How do they get involved in different ways?
A quick start is like, yeah, for sure, come get on GitHub, find us, and send ideas. And then maybe one thing that I will say that I found interesting in open source projects in the age of vibe coding is it can be just as useful to send a POC as it is to send a discussion. And as long as you like acknowledge like, hey, I'm sending this POC, this might not be where you want it to go, but I'm just going to show you really concretely what I'm trying to accomplish. I really love that dynamic now. That's cheaper than it ever has been. You don't have to feel attached to the work if you just like throw something together and have a conversation about it. So very much welcome that kind of stuff in Goose if you're interested. And I think other projects too. So that's one, like just, yeah, get on GitHub, help us shape the direction, and like as much as possible, show us what you're looking for. I think that gets really interesting. And also shout out to MCP apps in that vein too, which is like a really dynamic way to show us what you're looking for. And then for the the direction of the Linux Foundation, sorry, the AAIF, and like bringing on new technical projects, I'm not sure we figured out exactly how we're going to do that yet. I don't know, Nick, have you put more thought into that?
It's a lot of thought into it in the sense that it's my top of mind, which is like the AAIF is like to foster collaboration and standards and help these projects grow and develop further. One thing that we're fairly aligned on is that we really want like some sort of demonstrated utility or demonstrated adoption. Like the AAIF at this current stage, we're focused on like helping grow things that are working for the community more than we are on nurturing new things from scratch. So like if you do have, I think the original question was an agents SDK proposal. Like it sounds like a great thing to have in the foundation, but like send us that proof of concept, show like people like adopt and use it and like work out the kinks. And it doesn't need to be perfect. Like MCP is on spec revision 4 or something like that, and it's only a year old. But at the same time, there's like a lot of the strength of these protocols comes from a lot of people in a lot of different places, a lot of different circumstances adopting them. And we're really going to be looking for that for any technical contribution. And also just a similar plug for the current projects, like reach out on GitHub. The MCP community has a rather rich Discord chat as well. So reach out on the channels for those current projects if you want to contribute, and very much welcome that. And for new projects, we do intend to try and work out like sort of more concrete principles of how to move forward. But the biggest thing is it's about like demonstrate that it works, and then we're the next step rather than the first step.
That sounds very helpful, especially since you all are very, very busy doing a lot, managing a lot. So that makes it like a little bit of a lower lift for you all. We're getting to the end, like 1 minute left. I was gonna take maybe one question from people. You guys kind of answered this a little bit already, but maybe kind of repeating for maybe people who came in late, who served by this alliance that might not have been prior to its formation, and then we'll wrap from there. Hard question.
Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe we're not sure yet, and we'll see since it's a 2-week-old.
I would say it is a hard question, so credit to the asker. I would say firstly, there is a bit of like just elevating recognition of like the AAIF and its membership technical projects. And like for people who are new to this field or like, you know, AI tech adjacent fields or this sort of thing, you might not necessarily have known what to us might be obvious as to like, oh, obviously use Agents.md to do this kind of thing. And so this elevation of status really helps like identify it as meaningful to the field. And so it helps to like for people to understand the landscape that might be unfamiliar to them, like to look for foundations. The other thing, which is not defined quite yet, but it's something that we will evolve to define, is, as I mentioned, like things like compliance standards and that, which is like there's a degree of like, I guess one way to think about it is we worked out how to communicate, like developers with Agents.md, users and enterprises of MCP. There's this next level of building like trusted communication and this sort of thing, that people are doing the right things by these protocols and standards. And so that's another level that we would hope to serve in future.
Yeah, I think that I definitely agree. And maybe one more to cover that I'm for sure not the expert on, but there's budget associated with this foundation, and I think a lot of that budget goes into teaching. Like, how do people who maybe aren't experts yet become experts in this technology? And so I do hope that there's a certain barrier to entry, right, in contributing, because you got to get up to speed. You have to feel comfortable with that contribution and making code changes or like suggestions on the protocol spec. So hopefully the foundation also helps like train up a generation of programmers who are like, in the space of building agents and helps them get ready to contribute.
I love that on the education front. Well, that's it on all of the questions. Thank you so much, Nick and Bradley, for spending your 30 minutes with us, or a little bit over 30 minutes with us to answer your questions and share advice. And also thank you for helping to form the AAIF. I'm really looking forward to like what great things will happen. And also thanks to the audience for tuning in and asking really great questions. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for hosting us.
Yeah, thanks for hosting.